This is one word, two syllables. Ridiculous, right?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Unfiltered Truth. We got Victory Monday, so you know what that means. We saw it earlier, but I'm going to bring it right back because we had a blowout. It's been a long time since we had a blowout. So without further ado,
Ain't going back and forth with you niggas. I'm living my best life.
Mondays are always a great day when we can talk about a dub, and God bless America, we got a freaking blowout. But Phil is not going to be with us today. He had some tragic news that came up. His mother got in an accident, so let's say a prayer for her. She's okay, a little shook up, but he's spending some time with the family. But we have a special guest, good friend of mine, Real Talk, Mr. Kenny King Jr. Kenny, what's happening?
What it do, Phil? Hey, man, sorry to hear about Jones' mom. Prayers out to him, his mom, family. Hope everybody's doing well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What's up, KB, King Bolo, Q, Jason Marshall? Good to see all you guys. Give you guys another couple minutes to cycle in. Dre, what's good? Good to see you, brother. We got a huge victory to talk about, Kenny, and that's and the craziest part about it is, in the grand scheme of things, the victory itself is probably the smallest of the things to talk about in terms of topics moving forward.
Yeah.
The game started with a picture in the end zone with the first Black president of an organization, a Black general manager, and a Black head coach. And that, without trying to overemphasize that, was groundbreaking yet again for a franchise that specializes in groundbreaking news.
Absolutely. I tweeted out about that. I said Al's probably looking right down and smiling right now, because that was a page right out of Al's book. Mark, you saw him walk out. He had his swagger back, fresh cut. He had a fresh haircut.
I mean, he just come out looking so cold.
He was ready.
I was like,
yeah,
all right,
he was ready. I was like, okay, MD, okay, and had to look good. He had, brought the old man out there to light the torch. And so, look, I'm juiced. It was it started off great, it ended great, and it just left Raider fans with a really good feeling.
So this whole thing about Josh McDaniels is all over the place, and we'll address some of it. We'll get back to that in terms of that. But what happened in his absence has been nothing short of magnificent.
Yeah. I mean, you saw the guys out there just happy and smiling and congratulating each other. I mean, look, Devontae had 7 targets yesterday.
7 targets, 4 catches.
7 targets, 4 catches. No touchdowns, but he was out there smiling, cheering his guys on, fired up. After the game, gives Aiden O'Connell the game ball. I mean, that's what you want to see, and that's what he was talking about. I remember Raider fans were getting frustrated, like, oh, Devontae is being a prima donna. He just wants the ball. It wasn't that. It was that they wanted execution. He wanted to see exactly what we wanted to see, and this offense fulfill what they can do and what they should do. I mean, this is an offense that should be putting up 30-plus points a game. Quite frankly, they should be putting up 30-plus points a game. And the fact that they didn't put up more than 19 points offensively up until yesterday, just shows that there was a major disconnect somewhere in the execution. And look, I'm not going to sit here and crap all over Josh McDaniels, whatever. He did some good things for the Raiders, and him and Ziegler did some good things in bringing in some guys and maintaining some guys. But let's just say the players looked happier. The players looked loose. They looked like they were having a good time. They looked like they were back to loving football again.
And as much as I would like to keep that same professional energy that you just brought out, I'm gonna have to kick the unfiltered truth, and I'm gonna have to call cap on that, because the one thing that really came to the forefront of my thought process was this: the Raiders didn't run any new plays. Said they didn't change any players. They have the same play. They changed the quarterback, and this is a quarterback that Josh McDaniels drafted, that he thought could potentially be the guy to be the starting guy moving forward. And why he had such little faith in his own guy is beyond me. But to further that, for the whooping that they put on the Giants, it was his plays, the players that were there. All of a sudden, they executed. They played together. Nobody missed an assignment. Finished blocks, finished runs, finished throws. The quarterback didn't get touched. No turnovers. The defense sacked the other team 8 times. And yes, it's the Giants and they're terrible. But the thing about that is that this is the type of team the Raiders have been struggling to beat or losing to, instead of blowing out the way that they were supposed to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the only difference is the absence of Josh McDaniels.
You could say that. And I don't think that, honestly, I don't think that there's anything wrong with that, because I do believe that these guys played with more passion, more intensity. And like I said, they're having more fun. Antonio Pierce came out there and he brought the heat. He brings a different element to the game. He was a player. He won as a player. He played at the highest level. This team came out and did what they were supposed to do.
Right.
We talk about, you should beat the bad teams. We haven't been beating the bad teams. Nope. And looking at this squad yesterday, this is a team that, quite frankly, would have beat the Chargers in week 4, would have beat the Steelers, would have gone back, would have won against the Bears. Quite frankly, had
too.
Yeah, I mean, it's a completely different team. And I know that we could talk about hindsight and ifs and buts and cherries and nuts and all that, but quite frankly, this is a team that is better than what has been on the field for the past 8 weeks. And the coaching change definitely did make a difference.
Thank you. You don't know. I'm sure you do know, but I've said this to people and people haven't heard me. And I see all the people that are in a rush to, this team can't do this. This team's horrible. No talent. I'm like, what are you talking about? The only thing that's been holding this clearly has been 2 things: the coach and the quarterback play. You literally have a guy who's never done it before at this level that's going out. He didn't even score a touchdown, and yet still led 6 scoring drives, broke 20 points, which Jimmy or Brian had not been able to do, or Josh for that matter. Your first time interim offensive coordinator is out here running the offense the way that it should have been ran. Like Black Al here said, he put up more points than McDaniels has all season.
Yeah. And the other thing too is one of the things I read, Vic Tafer had a report that Josh Jacobs was sitting down with the coaching staff and going over what run plays worked the best and what what was working for him in practice, and him putting that out there, and him giving him the confidence that, hey, if this is what works for you, let's run it. That's huge. That's huge, because we saw how well Josh played and we saw how well the offense was running. That was the best Josh has ran all season. And so the fact that he had that input, that made all the difference.
And I don't understand why that was so difficult. And one of the things that boggles my mind about the NFL head coaches is how little input they really get from the players, or when it comes to switching up or maybe even tailoring their scheme to fit the abilities of the guys that they have. They just seem to be incapable of doing so. It would seem to me that if your star running back, the guy who led the league in rushing last year, is telling you that you need to switch them up, that might be the guy you listen to.
Right, exactly. Well, even something as little as audibles, right? Because we heard last year that that Josh McDaniels didn't like audibles and he didn't want Carr audibling out. We saw this year that Jimmy did start audibling a little bit, but Jimmy he really wasn't able to facilitate a full game. I don't think that with his ability to be healthy, with his ability to be out there, I think there was a lot of inconsistencies there. The other thing is what I was getting to with audibles is that one audible he called through to a pass to Tay getting out of the run. That was huge for AOC because the kid's a rookie. This is his second start. And for him to see that and for him to be already cognizant of that, everybody in the locker room has already said that this kid doesn't play like a rookie. He doesn't act like a rookie. That's huge for him to come in and just see a vast improvement over what we saw week 4.
Now, as you mentioned that, I'll tell you the one thing that caught my eye, in addition to that, to the audibles, was him calling out his pass protection.
Yes.
Sliding his offensive line and setting guys up to make sure he did that to perfection.
Yeah.
And that alone, because the one thing that I knew about Aiden O'Connell is this. From what I've gathered in the preseason and in the game, and let's call it a quarter that he played, if you give him some time, he'll find the open guy. His pocket awareness is awful, and he's a monument in the pocket. He ain't moved. Once he gets back there to the top of his draw, he ain't moving.
Yeah.
So as long as you can keep guys off of him, he can deliver the football and get it where it needs to be. And he makes quick decisions. He throws it, and it's a wrap. He gets it done.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. The offensive line blocked well. They stepped up, and it was refreshing. The 0 sacks. Getting him protected, getting the ball out there. Now we just got to get the ball to Tay a little bit more.
It'll come when it's supposed to, because the way that it'll come. Then once they start hitting some of the other guys, I will say that the guy they really need to get the ball to more is not Tay, but Trey.
Yeah. He came up huge.
That's the guy that's going to make a huge impact on the game when he starts getting fed, because all of a sudden, all of the attention will shift from Tay to, we got to be cognizant of where he is on the field, because one thing Aiden O'Connell can do much better than the other two guys is throw the football deep and stretch the field.
Yep. And
that's called complementary offense. I know we talk about complementary football, but without the challenge of deep being beat deep, defenses were loading the blocks and crushing everything, blitzing and all types of stuff, and that's what was grinding the offense down to a halt. One of the things, anyway.
Yeah. So it's good to see it. He's going to continue to progress. We've got, they're facing a difficult defense this week. But we're seeing what they're doing right now. The Jets are not playing very well. And it's going to be interesting to see what kind of inspiration this team has with a little bit more preparation.
I have to agree with you on that one. They got they're trying to turn the season around, and I'm not going to say that they can't do it.
Yeah,
because the way that they played yesterday was the way that I've been expecting them to play all season.
Absolutely.
Like you, I expected this team to be putting up at least 28 to 35 points a game, possibly getting into the 40s. And I'll say this to you, and I've said it a bunch of times, with an average quarterback, this team goes to the playoffs.
Oh yeah, definitely. I don't disagree with that at all. That's really what the issue was. Well, I mean, you had two issues. You had the fact that Josh McDaniels didn't want to surrender play calling, which hindered the offense. You had the fact that Josh McDaniels didn't want to take the handcuffs off himself from Jimmy. That hindered the offense. I mean, it's like the guy wanted to sync with him. And I don't get it. We saw. I mean, even with Brian Hoyer, like in the Bears game, why don't you move on? In the Detroit game, okay, you should have made an adjustment at halftime. I mean, Jimmy couldn't do nothing for the whole half. You should have made an adjustment at halftime. Why didn't you? That's that. And honestly, I think that right there, I think that was the nail in the coffin that Mark, I almost said out. I think that was the nail in the coffin where Mark said, enough's enough. There needs to be a change, because after that game, you have Devontae throwing his helmet. You have Josh saying that ain't my job. And you just saw the frustration on every single player in that building. And complete 180 now.
Complete 180. And so that 180 has been accelerated. One, I have to say that when all of this came about, I had to tip my hat to the PR team, the social media team, for the job that they've been doing, because they've been doing some incredible work. The spin on this whole turnaround has been a thing of beauty.
Yeah, the social team is definitely getting dubbed for the week. I mean, they put out some fire content. They have been on top of everything. Corey said it best. He said it's like they're subtweeting their ex. Because
Man.
I mean, everything was just like a little, felt, but it
really turned it was that little last little bit.
But it was nice to see, like, it was because the Raiders social team has always been so buttoned up, and it doesn't fit the fan base. It's like they want to have this Yankee social team, which is, pinstripes and short hair and no beard. And look, this is a blue collar fan base. This is this is a team that is rooted from deep East Oakland. This is a team that had guys that were outcasts on other team, and so to have a social media team that's so buttoned up for a team that's a bunch of renegades, it doesn't make sense. So I'm glad they took the brakes off and took the governor off the thing and let it go.
I've been overjoyed, and watching it, listening to it, seeing the faces. And now it's funny when you see the delegation for the other side, the Hunters and the Aidens out there with the brothers out there doing their thing, and they're yeah, go.
Yeah, they got the Soul Train line back.
Yeah,
they brought, it's like out there, it's so, yeah, it's good to see, and let's just keep this energy going. I mean, let's keep feeling good about it, because it's fun. It's fun. It was fun to tweet about the game yesterday. It was fun to go talk to people. It was fun to have a convincing win where you're not sitting there with heart palpitations throughout the whole game, wondering, are we going to pull it out? I honestly was like, damn, we might pull out a shutout. Like we might skunk them.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for that, it was literally a lapse in coverage. We almost skunked them. But look, they couldn't even get the extra point. Nope. So I mean, it's a win.
It wasn't just that. You knocked out the starting quarterback. You held the backup to next to nothing. Your coach's big decision in his first game was whether to stomp on their necks at the end of the first half or play it cool and get the points and then start out the next half. Yeah. I personally would have opted for the stomp on their necks, but I tend to be a little bit more aggressive than most people.
Same here. Same here. But, I'm always down to run it up.
Oh, for sure. You said if it was me and Mike McDaniel's shoes, I'd have been trying to drop 100 on Denver. From about from the second half, it would have been 4 verticals every play.
Sorry, I had to stop. This kid is trying to eat every single sour straw that he has. I bought him a little tub about that big, a sour straw. He literally put like 17 on a plate, and he's just staring at me boy, I'm talking. And he's staring at me as he's eating and just bouncing up and down. I'm like, oh man, I'm about to give you some melatonin. So yeah. That's what I'm doing.
Running. We're gonna do some push-ups or something. We're gonna need you to work that out. I'm not dealing with all of that. But now I will say Circus Raider brought it up, and I did have it was a unique issue to have when you're looking at a team that hasn't scored 20 yet, and you're mad that they're shutting it down.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I was like, well, they haven't been here yet, so they don't know. I was like, bro, if you got it going, don't stop now. Keep going.
Keep it. You know, that's what it's like. I always say never take your foot off the gas.
Ever.
Never take your foot off the gas, especially in this league, because we've seen crazier things happen. We've seen, you know, what was the AFC Championship game? It was like they were like down 28 nothing or something like that.
Houston versus Buffalo or Tennessee.
No, the Houston versus Tennessee versus KC.
Hey,
remember when?
I'm talking about.
No, was that Houston?
Way back in the day. I think it was Frank Reich, Warren Moon when they were down by like 32 and came back to win.
Yeah, man. And so I look at these, you know, I look at the situation, especially in the AFC West, where you have Pat Mahomes, or you're seeing Pat Mahomes every, you know, twice a year. We know what this guy can do. You know, we know what Travis Kelce likes to do against the Raiders, and you can never take your foot off the gas. Take your foot off the gas. So I'm like, hey, just keep going. Just keep, you know, it's like Marshawn says, just over and over and over and over and over.
Keep going.
Just keep going.
I call me sick. I like to look in a man's eyes when I watch his wheel break.
Yeah. You know, so keep going.
Like we're not starting. Said it's 60 minutes of football. There's still time on the clock.
Yeah. You know.
But so let's get into brass tacks and talk about this. So over the course of this week, I've heard many people in a rush to replace Antonio Pierce already. Many people in a rush to see who's going to be the next general manager. Haven't seen the week with the build up to it, then seen the game itself and what happened after the game. I'd like to see. I'd be content to exercise some patience and watch how this whole thing turns out. They got their first dub. They need to maintain a record of 7-2 or no more losses than that in order to be playoff eligible. 10-7 probably may not get there, but it's not too far off. They're sitting at 5 right now. If they run the table, I mean, obviously that'll be delightful. We'll be over the moon for that.
Mm-hmm.
But I truly think that Mark has learned his lesson from what happened in 2021. And Bisaccia may not have been the guy or have quite the acumen that Pierce does, but when the players, I've been a big proponent of this, when the players choose their leader, you need to listen to them. And if you don't listen to the players when they choose their leader, you'll be stuck in NFL purgatory like we have been forever.
Yep. I wholeheartedly agree with that. You know, was Bisaccia, you know, the guy who was going to take the Raiders to the Super Bowl? Who knows? You know, and we'll never know. But he was somebody that the players rallied around. He was somebody that the players respected, and he respected the players. And you saw that. And you saw that everybody, you know, with everything that happened in 2021, with everything, the John Gruden emails, the Henry Ruggs, the Damon Arnett's, you know, just everything that happened in that season, for them to take it and to run the table and to go down at one point and then come back up and to have a 4% chance of making the playoffs and to have Justin Herbert on the sidelines crying, wishing for a tie, to take him to the playoffs and to really, honestly, to be 6 points away from beating the eventual, you know, Super Bowl losers. You gotta listen to your players. They said, this is our guy. They said, this is who we want. And, you know, Mark was like, well, Ken Harrock says that I should hire this guy. And look, you look at Josh McDaniels' resume as an offensive coordinator and with the Patriots. Yeah, the resume looks beautiful. The resume looks great. It looks good on a piece of paper.
Up until 2020.
Right. You know what I'm saying? And then you got to look around, though. You got to say, okay, while this looks good on a piece of paper, there's Bill Belichick. Here's the Bill Belichick coaching tree. You have Brian Flores, who ended up getting terminated by Miami. He was probably the best coach out of that tree. You have Bill O'Brien. We know what happened with him. You have Romeo
Mhm.
Crennel. We know what happened with Romeo. You have Josh McDaniels. His first stint in Denver was god awful. You have who else? You got Charlie Weiss, who kind of
Matt
fell off the face of
Patricia.
the earth. Yeah, Matt Patricia, who tried to do the same thing that Josh McDaniels did over in Las Vegas. He was doing that in Detroit, and they said, "Nah, we done with you, bro."
Yeah.
And so you have to look at it and say, well, maybe it wasn't these coaches. Maybe it was another factor that was in that building for the past 20 years. And what was that? Tom Brady. So that whole Patriot way, it was a Tom Brady way.
Yes, it was. I second that because he won without them. They didn't. They didn't.
Right. And look at them now.
Well, I won't say that they're in shambles. Somehow, after a close game with us, they managed to rally the troops and start playing a better brand of football. They won won a game, but in the grand scheme of things, everybody who leaves New England goes back to New England. 99, I think 75% of the names that you just mentioned, with the exception probably of Charlie Weiss, are all back in New England, and I expect that McDaniels will be there next year or in the year after.
Yeah. Oh, he'll for sure be back there because he's not going to get a job with any other franchise. I think that his stint in Las Vegas guaranteed him to never be a head coach in the National Football League again. That's obviously my opinion, but I'm going to state my opinion as fact because let's face it, he sucked.
And it's not just your opinion, but the opinion of everybody who's ever played a sport on any level competitively. He's just not. That's not him. You cannot have him do that because he don't lead nobody. I mean, if you were to line up just the post game press conference, the pre-game press conference, there's no comparison. There's none. Shit, Antonio Pierce has got me ready to strap it up and go run through a wall.
Right,
man, showing up to practice in a 64 Lolo, bro. What more could you want?
Yeah,
looking at coaches with like, oh shit.
I was talking to somebody about this. Antonio Pierce is the coach that Hugh Jackson should have been for the Raiders.
Yes.
He is what Hugh Jackson should have and could have been. Had Hugh Jackson not tried to have the power struggle, when Mr. Davis passed away, I think Hugh Jackson probably could have been a great coach for the Raiders. But Pierce is the coach that Hugh should have been. And I believe that he's better for that because of his experience, because of his, because he's been on the field. So I think that it's huge for the team right now.
And there is no substitute for experience. When you're looking to a man to lead you to go someplace, you're looking for a man who's been there before.
Yep.
And Josh McDaniels has never been there as the guy. Funny as for all of what was brought up about the statement. Yes, Pierce was on the team that knocked the undefeated Patriots out of NFL history. And they should have beat them in week 17, but they had to beat them in the Super Bowl. And because of that, you see the difference between real and fake. Yep. Everybody who's trying to be what Antonio Pierce already is, that's a champion. Mm-hmm. You either are or you are not. There is no in between. If you don't act like a champion, if you don't breathe like a champion, if you don't feel like a champion, if you don't think like a champion, you are not a champion. If you got to convince everybody that you are a champion, you're not a champion.
Yep. You never have to tell people. You never have to tell people you're a champion. People already know.
That's right.
It's just like you don't have to tell if you're good at something. You don't have to tell people you're good. That's why I always That's why I always get on LeBron because he always talks about he's the self-proclaimed king. Okay, you never had Kobe say that he was the greatest. You never had MJ never said that he was the greatest. But LeBron will continuously go out there and be like, I'm the greatest player that's in the. You're not. you're one of the greatest, but you're not the greatest.
No. And had you played in a different era, you could have been good. You
Yeah.
could have been great, could have been elite. But would you have been the greatest? And the answer to that is no.
Nope.
You would not have been. But like much to your point, like you said, people who are great. His airness never called himself his airness once. The whole Jordan brand was pitched to him. He didn't come up with his own shoe deal.
Exactly.
The Mamba, he didn't come up with Mamba mentality. Somebody else dropped that on him.
Yep.
And so that remains to be, like you said, you don't go out and proclaim yourself the greatest. Other people do it for you. You build the reputation. They call it like they see it.
Yep. You don't have Pat Mahomes isn't out there saying that he's the best quarterback in the National Football League.
Man, he looks awful average with a rush.
Just
saying.
Hey, if the Raiders can keep that rush going, I do believe the Raiders can beat. I believe the Raiders can beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs are a beatable team, and if they go out with the same intensity that they had yesterday, they can beat the Chiefs.
I fully 100% agree with you, and I think that more than anything, the one key thing that Antonio Pierce has done is provided the proper mentality. Yep. I wrote an article about what's been wrong with the Raiders, and it really comes down to this. And Kenneth had said it earlier in the stream. Identity. The Raiders are not nice guys. They're not buttoned up professionals. They're not good huggy puggy guys, the guys you want dating your daughter. A Raider is a pirate, a thief, a scoundrel, a villain, big and bold. Said he is coming out here to kick ass, steal gold, and dip out and have a good time while he's doing it. And the fact that you finally have a coach who embodies that, it's like watching Detroit with Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
When he first came out talking about kneecaps, it was funny as hell. Like, look at this fool. And then they started doing it.
Yeah.
And then it was like, yo, like Detroit is for real, for real. They're about to. Well, I thought up until the Vikings found their balls, I thought they were getting ready to run away with the NFC North.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, I had to take back a take because I said when Dan Campbell got hired, I was like, this guy doesn't know what the hell he's doing. But
at all.
But players are playing for him. And he was smart because he knows, okay, I'm not the best X's and O's guys or whatever, but I can motivate the hell out of my players. So let me get some coordinators. Let me get some coordinators who can actually call some plays and that know how to operate. And let me do what I do best and touch these guys and pause and get into it and just, hone in on what I can do best, motivate these players.
And that's what you're seeing with the Raiders now. It is a cohesive, comprehensive effort. And for as much as you heard about do your job, now you have each individual part doing their job instead of one guy trying to do everybody's job for them and then getting mad at them for it not working because he's not letting them do it.
Exactly.
And you've got a coach who's motivating. You've got an offensive coordinator who's just getting the ball to his guys. Keeping the defense off balance, mixing up plays. You have a play sheet that everybody doesn't already know, hasn't already seen. Your defensive coordinator has been a man who should be nominated for Coach of the Year because he's been up there in the box coaching his fucking ass off. And I've been touting him since the third week of the season after it was, oh, you better get together. You're going to be the scapegoat. And he said, fuck you mean? Defense is balling over here, bruh. You need to get that offense together.
Yeah. Graham's calling a hell of a defense. And for what he's got, let's not mince words here. Like, he doesn't have a lot on defense. You have Max Crosby, and then you got a bunch of guys. But you got a bunch of guys that are playing with some freaking heart. I mean, Amik Robertson's 5'1", and he's out there playing like he's 7 feet tall. You have an offense that has $102 million committed to the offense. So all this money's committed to the offense, and this defense is out there just scrapping away. And they're getting after it, and they're doing everything they can to keep the Raiders in games. So most most props to Patrick Graham because look, I know a lot of us were like last year we were like, let's get rid of him. Let's move on. Let's move on. And he's coaching his ass off. You're right. He's coaching his ass off.
It's been incredible to watch. Once he figured out what he had and has got what he's done for Trayvon Morrick's career, that looks like the guy that we drafted for. I was ready to run his ass out of town. I'll keep it a buck. He hadn't been doing anything, looking lost out there. Now he's got sacks, he's got interceptions. He's looking like the free safety back at TCU. Marcus Epps has made a big, huge impact. He's still a little bit undersized for my liking. I like him to get bigger, but they can do that with time. The linebacker situation, I was talking about how I've never seen a linebacking core with no guys drafted whatsoever. They're balling, coming out doing their thing, missing Diablo, but between what Spillane and Diablo have been able to do up to this point, it's like this is insane.
Spillane's playing some great football, and I was worried when the Raiders moved on from Denzel, but Spillane has stepped in and, quite frankly, is playing better. I mean, his coverage is better than Perryman's. Perryman was great. He was great in the box. He was a great run stopper, but we know that his pass coverage was a little bit suspect. Spillane is doing a great job and covering the field, getting interceptions, making plays, getting after. And one of the things that I'm really liking that I'm seeing is these guys are going for the ball, not just going for picks, but trying to rip the ball out, creating fumbles, creating turnovers, making guys miss and fumble these balls. And it makes a pause again. Shit. But it's huge. And I think that you continue to do that, it's going to keep that continuity. It's going to create a identity on defense that these guys are not to be messed with.
Absolutely. And I would prefer that they stick with peanut punches instead of the rips, because then their tackling gets kind of suspect and we're giving up extra yards, and I don't particularly care for that. But in the grand scheme of things, they're aggressive. Turnovers come in bunches. Sacks have come in bunches. They went from not having any to where I'd need to go back and look at where they are, but I'd venture to say by now they're at least in the middle of the pack. They've been playing like a top 10. I'll even go as far as to say they've been playing like a top 10 unit.
Yeah.
And haven't been getting the full credit of what they deserve, because like you said, they played some games that they had no business being in and kept it manageable, kept it to within a score. How they did it is beyond me, because Jimmy is out here giving up booty cheeks to absolutely everyone. I don't know how you can lead the league in interceptions and still have played 2.5 less games than everybody else. And your coach has got the blind faith in you to keep going back when Ray Charles can see that Aiden O'Connell gives you a better chance to win.
Yep. When I got people coming up to me at the grocery store telling me that Aiden O'Connell should be the starter, and I'm just trying to get some milk. Yeah. Like because I see a Raider tattoo on my arm, I'm like, damn, man, this is a problem. When I got the mailman who's a Niners fan talking to me about, what's up with the Raiders? Why aren't you guys starting the rookie? That's a problem, Like, shoot, I'm just trying to get the mail.
Man, I'm at work. I'm hearing the Cowboys fans. I'm hearing the Niners fans. I'm hearing the guy that barely watches football talking about, well, I mean, you got Jimmy out there, but Jimmy sucks. Like, you know what? You're right. He does. Yeah.
I don't know how anybody can make excuses for Jimmy G. Like,
I don't even call him Jimmy G anymore. He gets full government. He lost the right to be Jimmy G when he started producing efforts as piss poor as he did. That is James Richard Garoppolo.
Wait, his middle name is Richard?
James Richard Garoppolo. Yep, that's right. Jimmy Dick.
Jimmy Dick. Oh my God.
Jimmy Dick.
This is where we start to go off the rails.
I'll bring it back because we got to stay focused. But we could go on and keep going on about how good this feels. The feeling is different. And to me, I noticed that right away, was that for all the times that guys come in, yes, with Rich, it was like, oh, what do we got? Okay, they're playing good. They're playing for each other. And yeah, they came out here and they blew out the Giants. I was telling everybody from the jump, like Giants are getting blown out. And this is the fuck you Josh McDaniels game. It doesn't matter who's out there. Whoever is out there is getting blown the fuck out. It's going to happen. So the real test comes this week. I'd have to turn back the Jets game to see where they're at, but they were getting blown out as well by the Chargers the last I saw. But they're usually the come from behind team and find some way to grind something out down the stretch.
Yeah.
And I believe that this is going to translate. I believe that this is going to carry because the skill position players are good enough by themselves and in working as a team to pick up Aiden O'Connell and make him strong where he is weak. And that will give them the best opportunity to make it to the playoffs. Somebody had asked what's the number for Pierce to keep the job. I would say that he has to win more games than he loses, and with 9 games, I would ideally, if he gets anywhere from 5 to 6 wins, he's keeping the job.
Yeah, I said something similar to that, but I also think it's about if there are more losses, I think it would also come down to the manner in which the games are lost. Because if it's a 41-40 game, or if it's, if the Raiders are scoring, 30 plus points or 25 plus points even, then that's what you got to look at. If these are close games that are being lost, or if it's because you actually get beat and, it's just the better team, I think those are things that you look at too. But I think that, I think you're right. I think it's going to be about around 4 or 5 games that he's going to have to win. And we're going to have to see that same intensity and that same energy throughout the rest of the season.
And I don't think it's going away. I really honestly, now is that going to equal dubs? No. But the thing that he said most, he said a bunch of stuff, but just remembering what it meant to be a Raider and how Raiders come all the way back to coming out the tunnel. When they came out the tunnel, you already knew what time it was.
Yep.
Somebody was getting fucked up. They putting points on the board. They're about to make a statement, dip out. You'll know that the Raiders have come to play.
Yeah.
For the entire history of organization, it was 31 teams, and then the Raiders, somehow they started trying to fit in like everybody else. I don't know whose idea that was. It wasn't mine. But the fact that they've gone back to embracing who they are, who they always were, and the team, and when you look at it, that's the whole team. The whole team is like that. The whole team, they're nice guys. They're good dudes, but they're not the clean-cut pros that don't say shit. They're not the dudes who are going to say, they're the dudes who are going to tell you exactly what the fuck is going on, what they're thinking, and they're not going to stand for no bullshit.
Yeah. I agree. What's Raider Rich talking about, the LA Collie replica?
Yeah, and I don't know what he talking about. He be over here having Raider hats and Charger colors, man.
I'm like, what we talking about over here, Rich? I don't got an LA Collie.
No, I'm talking about his, but
I'm like, huh? Like, I don't see, I don't know what you're talking about.
No, I don't know what he on either. He likes hats though, so I guess that's what it is.
Oh, okay.
But and I love it. I love it. It feels it's just different, and different in a good way, different in a sustainable way.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't fake energy.
No.
You can't fake energy. You can't fake. Yeah, Kenneth, you're right. Ain't no such thing as halfway crooks.
Halfway crooks.
I'm telling you right now,
or you ain't.
Yeah, you cannot fake. You can't fake the funk. You cannot fake energy. And Antonio Pierce is real. Ain't nothing fake about the man. The man is real. And when he talks, I believe what he says. Like when he's talking, I'm like, I believe you, bro. Like, let's go. When Josh would talk, I'm like, this mother, come on, man, just shut up. Because it's the same thing. It's the I don't, So I don't I don't like that. I want transparency. I want to know, what's going on, what's up with this team, and obviously we're not going to know every little thing, but you want to look at what you're feeling, what the team is feeling, and how they're getting energized and how they're coming together. And you see that with this team. You see that with Pierce. You see, everybody looks to be on board. Everybody looks to be on the same page with everybody.
Everybody.
Everybody. I mean, from the top down.
Like this.
From
Yes.
From the top down, from Mark to Sandra to Champ to Pierce to Bo Hardigree, who called a hell of a game yesterday. Hell of a game.
Hell of a game.
So that's what I'm talking about.
Well, without a doubt, I'd have to go back and read up on that Arizona. I thought that was under Herm, but whatever happened there is what happened there. That is unfortunate. But with the Raiders, like you said, everything is working together. Like it's in place, and I can't wait to see what happens moving forward. And I'm not in a rush. I want to see week to week. I want to see the improvement how they improve this week off of what they put together last week. It was effort. It was togetherness, winning like that. And, Devontae had said it way back earlier that when you blow teams out, it reinforces the lessons of the week before. It reinforces the rules. It reinforces the execution of what it is that you're supposed to be doing, because we didn't just barely win and scrape. We blew these dudes out. Like it was never a competition.
Yep.
And Pierce understands the pulse of that locker room. Now they just got to elevate accountability. I don't even think they have to do that. I think that the problem was that the accountability stopped in the locker room.
The onus wasn't put on. Josh didn't put the onus on himself.
Nope.
And that was one of the biggest things. That's one thing I will give Gruden props for, is that at least he would say, I got to get better at that. I got to do better at that. I got to fix that. Josh would never say that. And week 4, he threw his rookie under the bus. But when Brian Hoyer has a crap game, well, this is he's coming in and, it's hard when your starter's not there. Like, he's coddling this 15-year
sorry ass bum. Let's call it. You said 15-year bum. A sorry ass bum. For his last 13. That's almost a whole season of straight losing.
Yeah. You're coddling this vet, and you're throwing your rookie under the bus. What kind of message does that send to your team?
And while you're throwing the rookie under the bus, you're trying to take a pot shot at your defense when you keep turning the ball over, when you're leading the league in giveaways.
Yeah. So
it's a bad situation, but it's come to an end. Mark learned what he had to do. I'll say probably from watching the Aces, because he won. When you win a championship, it changes you. Like I said, you're either a champion or you're not. And once you won a championship, stuff that's not going to win you a championship is not going to fly. He pulled the cord after 25 games, 9 wins, 16 losses. It's the best fast decision I've seen him make yet.
Yeah. I think the Detroit game just was the nail in the coffin, where he said, I can't continue to see this happen. I can't watch, I can't look at social media and see people like Tim Brown and people like Charles Woodson and Louis Riddick tweeting about this in a negative light. It's embarrassing. And he pulled a page out of his father's book and did what needed to be done. Wrote an $85 million check to get rid of those two and said, let's move forward. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. And we're feeling good.
And most importantly, out of that whole thing, for all the who's he going to hire next, who the guy that he put in charge, is the guy who believed that they could win with what they had. And to me, that was the most important thing out of any coaching search, whether Pierce ends up being the guy or not, whether Champ Kelly ends up being the guy or not. There's no need for roster turnover. You need a quarterback, you need an offensive game plan, an offensive system and game plan that utilizes the pieces that you have. You don't need to change any and continue to build the defense.
Yep.
That's all you have to do in terms of roster in order to be competitive.
Yep.
In the grand scheme of things, it's not going to get any simpler for anybody else.
Exactly. Keep continuity. Build and keep continuity. Don't turn over everything. Just keep it going. Keep it simple. And you keep it simple, and then they're going to be able to, I think they'll start having success, quite frankly.
Yeah, they scored on a trick play.
Yeah,
it wasn't necessarily that. Yeah, it was, and it wasn't even necessarily that it was a trick play. Just a little bit of subterfuge, little gamesmanship, if you will.
Yeah,
and it was beautiful. But the type of stuff that you don't see, that you didn't see previously.
Right.
The devil is in the details, and like I said, we go back and forth, and we'd agree on this all night long, but the guys just all of a sudden, without Josh McDaniels, were doing things that they were too dumb to be able to do while he was there, or couldn't be trusted to do. And if you don't trust your guys, you're not going to win.
Yeah. And they sense it. You sense it when you're at work and, your boss doesn't really trust you to do something. You feel a certain way. These guys sense it. These guys are professionals. They know when they're being duped, or they know when they're being treated like kids. And there was a lot of hand-holding, and there wasn't a lot of hand-holding yesterday.
No. But since we got you here, what do you think about our rookie Tyree Wilson? A lot of people feel a lot of ways, and I've encouraged people that they need to look at his play away from the football before they attempt to judge him.
I think that he was drafted with the idea that he was going to be a developmental guy. And I know you don't want to hear that for a top 10 pick, but I think or I forget where he was drafted, but he was, says it was top 10. I think you look at, he was going to be a guy who was going to learn behind Chandler Jones. And Chandler Jones goes and does Chandler Jones, whatever he did, whatever's going on with him. Hopefully he gets help someday and figures, the errors of his ways. But Tyree Wilson, I feel, can be a solid player. Should the Raiders have drafted him? No, they should have drafted Jalen Carter. But I don't even understand the pick, honestly. But I do think that he plays much better off the ball. He does play better in the run game. We just want to see more. We want to see more. We want to see more no more interceptions. We want to see more sacks, and that's really what it really comes down to. He's got 2 on the season.
1.5.
I want more. Yeah, I want more.
As do I. One of the things that I noticed is that the offense, it started out first. We were talking about how he can't get out of his stance. Well, they fixed that. Then another issue that I had was he's not getting his hands out fast enough and keeping his arms extended to keep linemen off of him. He started getting better at that. Then he started buckling tackles and offensive linemen and making an impact. Then I watched him start to get doubled, start to get chipped, start to take cheap shots at the knees, start to get held, and then offenses flat out moving away from him. And that's a disruptive force that you have to pay attention to and take into account. And actually, Pierce said that in his conference today about him and about the mentality, and how they had to start at ground zero with getting the boy out his stance. So once we got that, then we got a little bit more effort. But he's approached it the right way. He's putting the time in. I venture to say he's still not 100%, even though he's getting closer and closer week by week. I can't wait to see what he's going to look like next year once he gets that fresh 15 pounds of professional muscle and
Mhm.
NFL strength and development, when then he's really going to be chucking dudes out of the way, and some
Oh
technique.
yeah.
There's a lot of techniques that he could be using that would seriously benefit his game if he would just go in with the mentality that the easiest way for him to get to the quarterback is to throw the guy in front of him out of the way instead of trying to push him. Dude will be unstoppable.
Mhm. I agree. I agree. And with a rookie, with anybody drafted, you have to give them at least 3 years before you can make a true evaluation. Not everybody's going to come out and be a superstar the day they step foot on the field. Just keep developing them, keep working with them, pour into them, and hopefully he keeps progressing. He's progressing every week. If he keeps going at this rate next year, he might be all right.
And the third year he's gonna be incredible.
Yeah.
And there's no reason why he shouldn't. He's got all the physical traits you could ever ask for, and if he listens and can be coached, then at some point eventually he will get there.
Yeah.
But I've kept you for an hour. This has been fun. We'll have to do this again, my friend. It's been a
No
pleasure
doubt.
having you on.
No doubt.
So
Appreciate you having me on.
real quick before we get out of here, chat, you got about 2-3 minutes to get your last questions in before we roll up out of here. Let me see, scroll back and see what we got. O-line kept dominating like they did on Sunday. Won't have any issues moving forward. I'm sold on this current management team, including all the coaches. I've seen more in one game than any time in the last 10 years. That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. It's been a long time since we've seen a complete 60 minutes of football here in Raiderland.
Yeah.
Now this was one of the key issues that I had with McDaniels in terms of O'Connell's first start.
Yeah.
So you're watching your right tackle get absolutely demolished play after play and never think once to slide the pocket, send an extra guy to help him. You basically fed him to the wolves and then blamed him for it.
And then lie in the press conference and say you did it. Well, guess what? Tape don't lie.
No, it sure don't. And you can't block all 22.
Exactly.
That was crazy. Let's see. The team listened to Pierce. They have real love for him. The post-game interview was genuine, honest, and open. He was like that on ESPN, and he would be like that as a coach.
Yeah.
Game recognized game, Mikey G. You know what it is. He's not gonna sugarcoat nothing, not gonna bullshit, ain't gonna scratch his head when it don't itch.
I'm laughing at Raider Rich's comment.
Oh, he said something new, huh? I'll get back to this little hating ass. But this will be good. Let me see. Can we get another?
Did y'all see that video?
Yeah, I did. Oh, I've seen it. I saw it when it first came out, and it never gets old. Every time I see it, it's like, oh my god, what is he doing? I'm getting exercise, bro. I'm getting exercise.
I can't believe he posted that video though. What in his mind was like, I'm gonna post this, and I think I look good doing it.
Maximum effect. It went viral.
Oh my god.
And if you're just looking for engagements and because he's a PR guy, remember, if you're just looking for engagements, he got it.
Oh yeah.
He got it.
Oh yeah.
Oh man. Said my conspiracy. Yeah. Calling it up. Kids are getting there.
Yeah.
Hey, I understand. Kenny, thank you for your time. I mean that, brother.
Appreciate
you. Got to dip out. Please go ahead. Let these people know where they can find you, follow you, and all that good stuff.
If you guys aren't following me, I don't know what you are even doing. Like, seriously, if you're not following me, what are you doing with your life? But if you're not, I'm giving you an opportunity right now. You can check me out on Twitter at Kenny King _Jr., Instagram and TikTok at _Kenny King Jr. Podcast Real Talk on every platform. Just type in Real Talk with Kenny King. And, other than that, Phil, appreciate you having me on once again. Love the Jones and his mom. Hopes everything's well with her. Chat, y'all were great. Raider Rich, you got me dying right now, but we got to do this again, Phil.
For sure. All right, for me, at Phil Robinson III, the Unfiltered Truth. Look for the recap I have coming out at the Raider Ramble. Should have been out today. I don't know what they were doing, but that's neither here nor there. Love my guys there. It'll be coming out soon. We should be having the Raider Ramble cast. We should be shooting that tomorrow probably and get that out on Spotify. Just actually started that up recently with me and Alex. And just follow at Phil Robinson III. You can just Google it. Look for it on any platform. I don't need to say the real. You already know who I am. But this is the Unfiltered Truth. Thank you for joining us. God bless. We are out.
This is 1 word, 2 syllables. Ridiculous, right?